Hello, this is Mr. Vaughn with video lesson 2.4, chapter 2, lesson 4. I'm dealing with percents over 100% and under 1%. You should have your notes out. You should have the workbook open on page 118 so you can refer to that for additional information. And let's go ahead and get going. So, yeah, like I said, percents can be very small or they can be very big. You really use the same process to work with them as you do with like a regular percent, 25% or something like that. You just deal with it the same exact way. It's just the numbers are a little bit bigger or smaller. So the first section right here is percent to decimal and fraction if it's under 1%. So this is something really small, something like 0.2% or 0.2%. And you'll hear this like on the stock market. If you're ever listening to the radio or the TV, they'll say the stock market went up 0.4% today, or 0.2%, or down. This is a small percent. So what do? You move the decimal two places to the left. Oops, two places left, just like you did with the other numbers. So that's what they did here. 1, 2, and it looks funky. It's going to look weird, but just trust that the rules, trust the method, and follow that method. So you move the decimal two places over. Now we have 0.002, right? Use the placed values to convert it into a fraction. So just to say this number, the 2 is in the thousands place, so it'd be 2 thousandths. Hey, look, there's the fraction, 2 thousandths. Okay, and then simplify. 2 goes into both of those. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and you got 1 over 500. So that's if it's under 2%. Let's go ahead and move down to decimals, percents that are over 100. And this would be a situation like you did really well in an assignment or on a test, and you did the extra credit. So you might not just get 100% on that test, you might get 105%, or in this case, this person must have done a lot of extra credit, 170%. You can also see it in the profits for a business or something like that. We invested so much money, and we made that money plus another 70%, so we made 170%. So same process, just trust the process. Move the decimal two places to the left. Now it's in decimal form, so that invisible decimal is right here. Two places to the left, and it's 1.70. You can drop that last zero if you want and have 1.7, or you can leave it like this. So you're going to get the same answer. Next step is to use the place values to convert it into a fraction. Okay, and it says watch the whole numbers. Here's why. If you've got 1.70, 1 and 70 hundredths, if you say that the proper way, you're going to have the fraction written for you. 1 and 70 hundredths. So 1 and 70 hundredths, 1 and 70 hundredths. Okay. If I left it as 1.7 or got rid of the 0, it'd be 1 and 7 tenths, which is what 71 hundredths simplifies down to. Okay. You can also look at it another way. You can deal with the whole numbers. Here's the 1 and the 1. And then we'll forget about those. So if you were working this problem from scratch, it'd be 1.70. There's the 1. And then now deal with the 70 hundredths, 0.7 hundredths. Okay. Anyway, so that's two ways that you can do it. However it works for your brain is great. And now we're going to deal with some mixed numbers. Mixed numbers, if you recall, are whole numbers and fractions together. So when we're dealing with those, we need to get the right pen. Write it. You can deal with it a couple ways. I'm going to show you the way that the book shows you first, and then the way that some of your past teachers might have showed you. So write it as an improper fraction. So 1 and 1/4. To convert that into an improper fraction, if you need some review, you multiply the denominator times the whole number. So that's 4, and then you add the numerator. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So you've got 5 over 4. That's an improper fraction. That's the first step. Then you can write it as an equivalent fraction with 100 as a denominator. So you get over to multiply this times something, times 25 to get to 100 on the bottom. And then we've got 125 over 100. And then, percents are per 100. So if it's 125 per 100, that's 125%. The other way to deal with those, it's not in your workbook, is similar to what I showed you on the last thing. Just deal with the whole number separately. So I've got 100%, right? We know that one whole is 100%, so just put it in the bank somewhere. And then I'm done with that. Now I'm dealing with the 1/4. 1/4 as a percent. First you get it into a decimal, decimal, and then 2 places to the right, that's 25%. So 100% plus 25% equals 125%. However your brain works it, it's fine. You can take the one whole, set it to the side, and then deal with the fraction, or you can do the improper fraction method. Alright, so write your summary. Make sure you understand all that. If you have any questions, write them in the column on the left.